What's going on, guys? Greg Farris back here with part 3 of my training series, breaking down my split for you guys. If you aren't familiar with this video series, go check out the previous 2 episodes, part 1 and part 2, which explain how I break it up as far as the weeks and also the micro and macro cycles pretty much. But now what I'm going to do is actually take you through each one of my specific days. I wanted to reiterate something I didn't put in the other videos. If you take my example, that I have an upper on Monday, lower on Tuesday, and so forth, I set that up so that I can work on my weak points. Obviously, Sunday's a day off for me, so putting an upper body day on the following day is going to be really good for me since it's my lagging body part. So maybe if you're lagging some legs, you need something like that. Maybe do a lower upper split. Same thing with how you split up the second part of the week with the push-pull lower. If your back's a lagging body part for you, I'd recommend starting off that kind of cycle there with a pull. You know, just use the priority principle to your needs and not necessarily just fit what I'm doing, right? So make sure you're tailoring to your own needs and not just following this to a T. So let me get to the program now. You see, this is going to be upper. So with upper, I always do my bench. So you see right there, the first thing we have is bench 5, 3, 1. That'll vary to whichever week that I'm on. So I'll do my 3 sets there. Of course, the last set's always to pretty much failure. And then A and B are the different type of assistance work that I want to do for that exercise. So you see here, if you're familiar with 5, 3, 1 again, this is called boring but big. It's 5 sets of 10 reps, about 50 to 60% of your 1 rep max. And that's of my true 1 rep max, not my training max. So that's the one I do most often. And if I'm feeling really good, I want a little bit more of a challenge. I feel like maybe hitting a PR or something like that. I'll do the B. And what that is, I call it a second weight. And you see it says for 4 to 6, 6 to 8, or 8 to 10 reps. So what that pretty much means is, again, if you have to be kind of familiar with the program, but it's set up on percentages here. So I have an example. So say if I did 200 pounds for 5 reps, my first set, second set did 220 for 5 reps, and third set's my all-out set. I performed 240 for 10. Then after that set, I would go back to the second weight and perform 3 to 5 sets of 8 to 10 reps. Since this was my week 1. If it was my week 2, I go back to that second weight, perform 6 to 8. If it was week 3, I go back to that second weight and perform 4 to 6 reps. So obviously this 220 is a lot more than the 60% of my training max. So I kind of have to be feeling up for that. But I do utilize that as well. So that's kind of what I use for barbell bench press in this scenario on my upper days. And then the 2 columns over here are pretty much how I split it up between strength and hypertrophy. So this is definitely the core of my program. And this is more of the assistance work. So I'll go through this pretty quickly as well. There's 2 back movements and 1 other press. Obviously, I usually don't have this press be another flat movement. So I'm already doing several sets of flat barbell bench press. So this press usually here is usually an incline movement for me, since chest is definitely my weak point. You could also use this as like a dumbbell shoulder press, something like that. And then on my back movements, I have a vertical row and a horizontal row. I'm really not too picky with them, to be honest with you guys. So a vertical row could be a chin up, pull down, close grip, wide grip, whatever you want. And the horizontal would be, a cable row, barbell row, 1-arm dumbbell row, anything of that nature pretty much. So I just make sure I get 1 of each, and I'll kind of stick with ones that I really like and just try to, again, get progressive overload with each movement. So the sets and reps are the same for the back movements, 3 to 4 sets, 6 to 8 reps on both of those, and then the press is a little bit heavier, 3 to 4 sets of 4 to 6. And as far as doing the 3 to 4 sets, 6 to 8, as opposed to like a stagnant number, I'll go through that in kind of more detail in a further video. And then you see over here on the hypertrophy, doesn't change much. It's still a vertical, horizontal, another press. The only thing that changes is the rep range. It's a little bit higher, of course, 8 to 12 reps. And then the assistance work. This is the stuff I'm really not too worried about. It's just kind of working on some minor details. You see the lateral raises in both programs, the strength and hypertrophy doesn't change at all. The volume is still 2 to 3 sets, 10 to 15 reps. I usually use dumbbells or cables. It doesn't really matter for that exercise. But I do think that's a very efficient isolation movement for your side delts there. I think that's kind of neglected for a lot of people. But again, if you really have a weak point, this is some areas you can kind of tailor to your needs. I find that the 2 presses and the 2 back movements are kind of the bread and butter, and everything else is kind of just should be tailored to you and your needs. So the lateral raise is the same on both programs, and then the bicep work, again, 3 to 4 sets, 6 to 8 reps. So that's a little bit heavier than normal, that most people probably hit biceps. Then here is 8 to 12, which is more traditional. I find it really nice to have heavier and lighter work for biceps. In general, since I'm only doing 1 bicep movement, I usually go for something that I can get progressive overload with fairly easily. It's like a barbell curl or alternating dumbbell curl, something that you can move a moderate heavy weight with. I'm not a big fan of like a concentration curl on an upper body day. Since I'm only doing 1 bicep movement, I want to get the best bang for my buck. And then again, tricep, probably the area I train the least as far as isolation movements, because I already have decently well developed triceps in comparison to the rest of my body at least. And I feel like they get hit because I press a lot. So I only have 2 to 3 sets, 6 to 8 reps here, and slightly higher volume here. With that movement, I usually do either a press down, it could be rope or straight bar, or maybe even overhead movement, so like a overhead extension. It could be 1 arm. Usually like on a hypertrophy day, it'd probably be like a 1 arm, and then on a strength week, it might be like the traditional barbell, kind of a modified skull crusher I think I have in one of my videos. So that's pretty much how I set up my upper body workout, guys. So if you guys like these videos, make sure you comment if you have any questions. Like the video as always, subscribe to my channel. I will definitely have these for the rest of my other 4 days of training, as well as some other videos just talking about some general guidelines of how I choose to progress a lot of my assistance work, since the barbell bench press in this case is the only thing that's set up to a T, and the rest of the stuff I kind of go by feel as far as how I progress. So that's the video, guys. Thank you for watching, and be on the lookout for part 4 of this series, where I'll discuss my lower body squat day.